Yo, and welcome to the show all about promoting the sport of lawn bowls. I'm Zach Woning, and this is Casual Bowls. Yo, and welcome to Casual Bowls. This is a very special episode. It's actually Father's Day. And we've got who I'd consider the father of lawn bowls, John Snell, joining us with his son, Mark Snell. Now, I've obviously got to play with John over at Lilydale. For those who don't know him, which shouldn't be anyone, but if you don't know him, look him up, look up Winning Bowls, and have a read of what he's got to say. Look up his achievements. I mean, the man is an absolute legend. And he was good enough to join us on the show over Zoom. So we'll get to that in a second. But given it is Father's Day, I want to give a quick shout out to my old man, Alan Woning. He got me into the sport 20 odd years ago. He's been around himself for, it would be 30 plus years now. I think he started out when I was born. So yeah, 33 odd years. Been loyal to Bayswater the entire time, never left. So good on you, old man. I do love you. I don't get to say it much, but I do. Also like to give a quick shout out to my Allpa, who's dad's dad, Dutchy. Got my dad into bowls. Unfortunately, he's passed away now, but I actually don't know how good he was. I never got to play with him. And my grandpa, so my mum's dad. I think I'm one of those rare cases where I actually started before my granddad did. So my grandpa started after knowing how much me and my dad loved it. He got into it and joined up at Haywood, which was his local club. And Haywood actually gets a mention from Snelly. It was Snelly's second club that he played at. So a little bit of a tie in there, which is nice, but we should have some photos going up somewhere here of them. Unfortunately, both my grandparents there have passed on, so... and a shout out, may as well, along the way to me Poppy as well. So I think me Nana and Poppy have just taken up bowls as well. So good on them. And happy Father's Day to everyone. So let's get to Snelly and enjoy. Righto, John Snell and Mark Snell. How are you boys doing?
Good, Zach. Real good.
So I need to learn to address these one at a time here, I think. So very special Father's Day episode. I mean, who better to get on than the father of lawn bowls, the GOAT himself, John Snell, and his son Mark, who's also a bowler, has been for a long time, but took a long time off, obviously. So what we're actually going to do is I'm going to get Mark to sort of talk to John and interview him a little bit, ask him a few questions. I might chime in from time to time, but I think it'll be pretty special just to let these two boys go at it. And yeah, I think everyone's going to enjoy this. So just a quick bit on Mark. So Mark's got his own YouTube channel, The Tech Doctor. There's nothing else to that, is it? It's just The Tech Doctor, isn't it?
The Tech Doctor.
Yep. So get around him. Everything technologically wise that you need to know about. I've already searched on about the microphone because this thing's not working the greatest. So no, get around Mark and his The Tech Doctor show. I think I might just leave you still, mate. We might just let you go and we'll see what happens.
Well, I better start with Happy Father's Day, Dad.
Oh, thanks, pal.
I might let you walk through some of the family history, Dad, just to give everybody a background. Well, I'll start with the fact that you'll be 87 in 3 weeks' time.
Yes, on the 18th. And yeah, I was born in Jerilderie in New South Wales, well known for being Ned Kelly country. And in fact, my grandmother was a baby when Ned Kelly held up the Bank of New South Wales, got away with 200 pounds. Big time that was. And when I was 3, the family moved to Mathara, place halfway between Deniliquin and Echuca. And I grew up there, loved right opposite the footy ground, the tennis courts. And so it was a haven for sport, and I loved it. And also fishing, as my dad did. And so grew up there, and when I was, what age was I? 12, the bus service started taking us from Mathara to Echuca to school. Me and my 3 sisters, and I went to the Tech College at Echuca. I'm not sure why, because I finished up joining the bank. But yes, at 16, I joined the bank at Echuca. It was the Bank of New South Wales then, now Westpac. And yes, I moved from, I'll probably forget, I moved about every couple of years. Got to Robinvale and met my dearly beloved Ricky in 1954, and we were married in 1956, the year of the Olympics, and very happy times we had. And then the family started to come along a couple of years later. Terry first, and Terry, he was very keen bowler and a good bowler, but he chose another path in life, and I tried to hook him back a couple of times, but no, he wouldn't be in it. And he does a lot of good work for a lot of people, and so he's doing a better thing than I'm doing. So then came along Jenny, and then Diane, and now my son Mark, who you'll hear me calling Pal. He's been Pal for a long time now. And yeah, so we were still moving about. I was keen on tennis in those early days when we were married. And it wasn't until we got to to Conniva, over in the western side of Victoria, in the bank there. I was playing pennant tennis there at the time, and in between sets, I used to sit up on the post there and watch the bowlers play. Right. And then one day a fella came over to me and said, "How about coming and having a game?" So I nearly knocked him down in the rush, actually. And, anyhow, the bank was only a very small bank. There was only 2 and sometimes 3 of us on the staff there. I used to knock off about 20 past 3, and then I'd go straight to the bowling club. And so I started, and I was 25 then, and that was very young in those days. You couldn't join a club until you were 21. But anyhow, I joined there. They were pretty keen at that place, and I continued on that season playing tennis. And then when we had a bye, they had somebody drop out of the pennant side and playing number 3, and they pushed me straight in there. Ooh. And
they don't do that anymore, Snelly. They don't do that anymore.
No. No. And anyhow, I still recall that playing third, and the first 4 bowls from our 2 players went in the ditch, and that was my first pennant in. It was running about 16 seconds, which was pretty quick. And anyhow, I revelled in it. I loved it, and because I spent a lot of time practicing after work. And I still kept on with golf and tennis for a while, but bowls became the real passion. And we moved from Conniva to Haywood, also in the Western District. And I came under the wing of a fellow by the name of Gordon Langdon, who played 120 state games, and Gordon, who magnificent draw shot player he was. And from there, he put me out in the club championship 2 years that I was there. I think I got 31-27 the second year, so I was starting to progress a bit. Then I moved to, the bank moved me to Ararat, and yeah, won my first club singles there in 1965 and again in 66, and that sort of opened a few doors for me. And yes, I having gone to school at Echuca, oh sorry, and my Ricky's sister lived in where is it, love? Natalia, yes, it's out at Shepparton, and so I dropped her off and the family, and I went and played in the Echuca singles at Easter time. Played 7 games in one day of singles.
Wow.
But the first 5 were 16 ends. And then after 2, we played the semi-final and final. So that was my first big win, and I was that excited. We didn't finish till 11:45. And I drove to Natalia and picked Vicky up and the kids, and we drove to Melbourne, because the little one had a, I don't know who that was, had an appointment to see a specialist in Melbourne. So, but yeah, I was so excited, there was no chance I was ever going to sleep driving. And yeah, pretty exciting times, you know, it's first big win. And that again, it opened a few doors for me. And then just trying to sort of piece things together a bit, my own memory, not as good as it was. But anyhow, in 1968, 67, was it? 67, 68, I wanted to go to Country Week, or was it Corryong, up in the northeast of Victoria. Wanted to go to Country Week, and anyhow, I applied to the bank for leave, but as it was over the Christmas time period, I wasn't allowed. They couldn't fit me in, knocked me back. They offered me 3 weeks, about 3 weeks later, which I took and thought, oh, you know, what am I going to do now? And so we were going down to visit my parents in Melbourne, and looking through programs, and I saw that the Victorian Master Singles, or it was known as Richmond Union Masters in those times.
Yeah.
And I thought, gee whiz, am I good enough to enter in an event like that? By that time, I'd won 4 club singles.
Oh, only 4? Yeah.
Yes, well, anyhow, I thought, oh, doesn't matter. So I'll enter anyhow. And anyhow, I had a couple of good wins and won 31-30. They played 31 up in those days. And anyhow, I thought, oh, gee, that's fantastic to get that far. It doesn't matter if I don't win any more. And anyhow, I still recall 2 old blokes sitting at the table, beer in hand. And one bloke, I heard him say to the other, looks like Snell and Fitzpatrick for the final. Well, gee, I never even thought that far ahead. Lee Fitzpatrick was our representative in the Commonwealth Games in '62, and he was the best performed at Richmond Union, having won it once and runner-up once. And anyhow, sure enough, got to the final. In the semi-final, I had to play fella Ollie Taylor, who was later to be my state skipper. Anyhow, I played him, and he had me down 24-12, but he threw the game away. He started talking to people on the bank and lost concentration completely. And I got up in 1:30, 1:28. Anyhow, I went to semi-final, and then in the final, I played Lee Fitzpatrick, and it's a good win, about 16 seconds. And anyhow, he also led me that exact same score, 24-12. But I started to sort of get on top of the nerves and get a bit of rhythm, and I started to get better. And anyhow, I got up and I led 30-29. And anyhow, I was last bowl. He did nothing with his first bowl, and I put my first bowl about a foot behind the jack it was. And anyhow, he had his next two bowls, he had virtually a run to sit the bowl or trail the jack. And anyhow, I made sure I got second shot, because he had enough weight that he'd run out of the head if he only got part of the bowl. And anyhow, with his last bowl, he picked up the jack, took it right over the boundary line, about 6 feet from the ditch, or 2 metres round about that. And I'd put my last bowl there as a position bowl. But when I went up to have a look at it, he had shot about a foot behind the jack, no, in front of the jack. And the second, the two of us were together. And but I looked and I knew he had 2 shots. And anyhow, something that it's never ever occurred to me again in my whole career. As I walked back, I didn't think I was going to draw the shot. I knew I was going to draw the shot. I don't know why, but that's as true as can be. And I had to draw right round on the forehand, covered on the backhand side. I had to draw all around everything right to the edge of the ditch, and I drew the bowl within about 8 inches of the jack. And that was elation like I didn't think was possible. And yeah, so that was a real baptism in the game. And I went back following year, knowing that nobody had ever won it twice, and I managed to get through and do it again. So it was pretty kind to me, and that resulted in me getting a call up for to play in the state second side. And they played us against, we played against South Australia. And anyhow, I was using size 7 bowls. Wow. Slazengers, size 7. Had such a wide surface, you could spread your fingers and still be on the running surface of the bowl. But anyhow, I think it was a bit of a blessing for me. We had about 30 inches or 30 points of rain overnight, whatever that might be. Yeah, that's a bit over an inch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyhow, yes. And anyhow, somebody counted and I had 11 touches during the game. And the skipper came up to me afterwards and he said, "Son, we're going to hear a lot of you." So, of course, that was a boost. And yeah, so that's virtually how it all started, right up to state level. And I don't know if you want me to go on, but I had my first chance. I was nominated in 1970 for the World Championships. No, 70 must have been the Commonwealth Games. And 72 and 74. And in 1974, I felt I had a good chance of making the side. And they asked 2 of us, the other fellow, no name, no pack drill. And they asked us to put forward our performances for the last 5 years of above club championship level. And he had 2, and I had 19, but he went and I stayed at home. It was just a bit of a coincidence that he was secretary of the Victorian Lawn Bowls Association and treasurer of the Australian Bowls Council.
Yeah.
But that was the most disappointing time in my whole bowls career, that I didn't get selected. And anyhow, in 1978, we were to play a round robin in Adelaide, from which the team was to be chosen for the Commonwealth Games in Canada. And the green was beautiful. It was 16.4 seconds at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'd been practicing the drive, or skipping the rink, and I'd been practicing for 4 months, standing the bowl up against the bias, so that I could drive straight at the target, and it would just stand out that little bit against the bias, and then by the time it got, say, 3/4 of the way up the green, it was sort of back online. It would only turn out maybe 2 inches or something like that, that enabled me to drive straight at the target, no matter whether it was bowl or anything. And that really stood me in good stead for a lot of years. In the very first end, I had a chance to take their bowl out for 3, was sitting jack high, and I missed, actually, by a cigarette paper, taking the bowl out. But it gave me the confidence to play the shot. And my second kept tabs, and he said that over the series that I hit 24 out of 27 drives that I had. So that was very kind to me. That it was well worth the time I put in, and it helped me win a lot of events in later times. And was off to Canada, and we had no help in those days. Am I going on too long about this?
Mate, this is enthralling. I could sit here for ages. I'm just spewing I didn't pour more wine, so I could just keep sitting there watching. This is awesome. If Mark wants to move you on to anything else, by all means. I mean, but no, I think I love this. This is awesome.
And it boggles my mind that you can remember bowl for bowl games from more than half a century ago.
It's insane, isn't it?
Yes. I can't remember what I did yesterday. Yes. Well, anyhow, I was off to Canada, but we got no help from anybody as to what the conditions were like there. And I found out, I knew they were going to be green slow. So I looked around in Melbourne to see what I can find to practice on over the winter months. And one day I was at our own club at Ivanhoe, and there was a croquet green there, which was cut regularly once a month. And they had worm patches come up all over it, about ½ inch high. And I used to bag those off, and I bowled corner to corner. It's now a 3-rink green, and the greens in Canada were to be 140 feet long, full length. So the first night, I remember after practice, I nearly was in tears. How can you get up having to push a bowl that hard, but to a length? You know, people say, oh, you know, you have a drive, but whilst it's like that, you still got to do it to a length. But, so anyhow, I practiced and practiced and practiced, and I got over there, and yeah, the greens weren't too good at all. And the fellow that invented the forest roller, he contacted the club at Edmonton in Canada and said, look, we'll send you over a new roller. And anyhow, after we practiced the first night, had that beautiful long twilights they have over there at that time of year, and I think we were 7 or 9, I think, our practice time. And after we finished, the greenkeeper came out and started to roll the green, and we said, what's going on? What do you do it for now? he said, "Oh, I thought that was the idea, to take the footmarks and the bowl tracks out of the green." So that's how much they knew about bowls over there in Canada. They certainly didn't know much in the greens. They were under snow there for 5 months of the year. But so they were slower than anything we would ever have here. And people find that hard to believe, but yeah, that was true. And of all things, David Bryant, the Englishman, so well known, was the favourite, of course. And when I came to play him, I think it was a bit unfortunate. We were drawn on the furthest rink away from the clubhouse and the worst. And I knew it was narrow because I went and saw a couple of ends from our players played the fours there. And when they come off, I said to Jack Wilson from Burwood, I said, "Jack, what's it like?" He said, "Don't ask me." We still don't know. I think they got beaten 37-13 by Hong Kong. And anyhow, now people will find this very hard to believe, but it's as true as I'm sitting here, that I put my first bowl down on that green on the backhand, and I aimed at a mark 4 feet out from my own number. I put that bowl down, and the ditches were 18 feet 8 inches wide, so they were wide rinks. That bowl went out of bounds against the bias. And so I thought, oh, gee, I must have done something wrong. So I decided with the second bowl I'd do the same. It went out of bounds against the bias also. So it wasn't easy. But the Poms, they were used to playing on bad greens, and we were spoilt with ours over here. Some of them we complained about were Christmas compared to those. And also, once your bowl got about 8 feet out from the ditch, part of it sort of you lost sight of because it went over the hill and down. But in places, the plinth was up about inch and a half or something like that, and then go bang and stop. But if it wasn't on that particular patch, once it went past the 8 foot mark, it'd go into the ditch. So yeah, it wasn't easy. But anyhow, David beat me comfortably. I think 21-14, I think it was. But anyhow, I hung in there all the way through, and I had a tough game in the last game if I was going to get a medal, and I concentrated like I never have ever. Wouldn't look at other games, how they were going or anything like that. I just kept head down and bum up, and I think I won that last match 21-9, I think it was. And so got a silver medal, which was pretty good considering. So today they have great opportunities because they off playing in different countries, whereas I didn't have any of that experience at all. That was my first sort of game outside Australia, and it certainly was strange conditions. But anyhow, it worked out pretty good. So how about that's enough of bragging. Questions.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was the first time we'd won a medal in lawn bowls?
In the Commonwealth Games, the first time, yes, it was. And we've been in since 1930. And yes, and never done any good at all. Yes, that's right. And Rob Perella later won the gold medal, and that was that's the first time that had happened. So yeah, under those circumstances, it read pretty well, but yeah, it was tough initiation, but stands in good stead for other events then if you're going to go overseas.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Would you consider that? So we've had a couple of questions. I haven't told too many that you're coming on. I wanted to keep it a bit of a surprise. But for the couple I have had, I got them to throw a couple of questions your way. One of them was, what is your greatest achievement in your mind? Would that be up? That'd have to be up there, but is it number one?
Yes, it would be. Yes, it'd be number one. There's a couple of other rivals sort of winning the Victorian Masters at my first try was, you know, pretty close rival.
Yeah.
But I suppose being international, yes, it would win because David beat me there, and also he beat me in the final in the last game in the World Championships 2 years later. But that should have been to an advantage to me because it was played at Frankston.
Yeah. Okay.
Here in Victoria, but the Greens were still more in their favour than they were in ours. The Greens, they made a complete new setup for World Bowls in 1980 at Frankston, and the Greens were too young when we played. And so, I suppose it's making an excuse, but we had a fantastic game there. But he'd already won the gold medal when we played in the last game. He was 2 wins in front. And yes, I still recall that when I was 19, I had a chance. He was 20 when I had a chance to trail the jack to make 3 shots, and I trailed the jack, but it went about 10 inches too far, and I only got one, and he beat me 21-19, I think it was. Yeah. So yes, I feel that whilst we played 10 times and I won 6 of them, he won the 2 big ones. So. Yeah. But when you think about it, his record, if anybody ever had a look at it in detail, he won sort of something like 500 championship events he won in his career. So, and if you look at his international record, nobody can get near it really. So yeah, that's good. And he was a real gentleman, and loved playing against him. And the crowds in England, when I played against him there, he could do no wrong. And they're very parochial. And I still remember he had 4 bowls almost in a pack, not far from the jack. And I drove spot on, I reckon, went right through 2 on each side, and the crowd roared. They did, yeah. No sympathy.
No.
Yeah. Yes. What was other questions? Any that were too hard?
No. Oh well, one of them I was going to get once we got sort of to modern times within your career, because I think we're back in the 70s still, aren't we, at the moment? So.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Well, I'll throw them to you now. Then one of them. I'll give you the cheeky one first from Johnny Sanders. He actually asked you who you consider the better Sanders to be.
Who? Say that again.
Johnny Ray Sanders?
Josh?
No, Johnny.
Johnny?
Yeah, Johnny asked you who you considered the best Sanders to be.
Oh, the best Sanders?
Yeah.
I think I'd go for couldn't think of the name. Tam.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah, got out of that one easily. So.
Yeah. It's actually Tam's birthday today, I think. Today, or it might have been yesterday. But yeah, happy birthday to Tam if you're watching.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, so happy birthday.
And the last question we got, like I said, I didn't tell too many people you were coming on, but someone asked your influence on Barry Lester. Obviously, Barry's taken up the nickname of Snelly.
Yes,
And yeah, I mean, I heard a bit about at your, what was the event you had? It was the
The
60th
60
year in
years in
bowls.
bowls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I heard a little bit then, but the question was, you know, what was your influence on him?
Well, he felt more so than I did, sort of thing. I didn't think I did that much. But one of the great things was that we'd go down, this is at Lakes Entrance, we'd go down and we'd usually play at pairs, maybe 4 times a week or something like that. And after that, we'd go into the club room and have coffee and we'd talk. And he loved to, ask questions about how I'd progressed through that time and more or less sort of what it took to get to the top or near the top. And he really soaked that all in. And that's where he felt it was such a big thing for him, because he always had a delivery that you dreamed for.
Yeah.
And so I didn't think that I contributed that much. So it was more in those talks that went on for mostly an hour that he felt that he picked up a lot of benefit from them. And when I thought about it afterwards, there is a lot in that that you can find out those little things, those 1%ers that can make the difference and get you to somewhere near the top.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Take that all in. Like when I was younger, I'd drive miles if somebody was talking that I felt that they could that I could find out just one little thing from them, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So and Barry was like that, a real sponge in absorbing everything he could about it, and he's always been extremely grateful. I only had an email from him yesterday.
Yeah, okay.
And because he's got the Commonwealth Games coming up, and he's hopeful to get it. And, you think you might have a chance, and but when you think that I don't know how many bowlers there are in Australia now, say 400,000, something like that. There's only for the Commonwealth Games, it's I think it's 7 players. World Championships is 5. So it's not your chances aren't all that great, really. And so yeah, but yeah, it's done well, very, very well.
Yes, yeah.
I'm rather hopeful that we can get a triple side together and play the 3 Snellies. I might have to get a bit better for that.
Yes, yeah. Well, he's trying to fit one in. He's been, but that's hard now. He's gone up north.
Yep.
Yeah.
But, he said he hopes to play a few games of pennant. He didn't say who it was for. I presume it'll be Melbourne. I'm not sure about that.
Well, we spoke to Melbourne on this show. I don't know if you've been watching our Premier League previews, but we spoke to Melbourne and Matty Elal, and he didn't mention Leicester coming down.
Oh, right.
So, but I do recall hearing something about Leicester. I'm not sure if it comes up in one of our later interviews or if I just heard it on the grapevine somewhere. But yeah, I did hear too. He might be playing a few games in Metro. So
yeah, yes. Well, he said he hoped to come down. So
yeah,
we might meet him in Premier League. And it'd be good if we do. We seem to. I've drawn Jared Kelly when we played, and the first time, and then I drew. I can't remember his name. He came from Sydney and played for. No,
that's all right. Yeah.
Yes, that's where the memory slips away.
That's all right. All right, I'll let Mark continue on here.
Yep. Right.
So do you want to know a bit about me, or?
Yeah, mate. Well, I mean, let's take a pause from Snelly's career here. So, I mean, I already know a little bit about you, but for the viewers at home, let's talk a bit about what you've been doing. I know you started at an early age as well. We should have a photo here. We'll chuck that up that you've kindly sent us. So,
well, I mean, I watched a ridiculous amount of bowls as a kid.
Yeah.
You know, there were times where I would.
Nope.
What's that?
If you can hear us, Mark, we've lost it at the moment. Yeah, I think he's it's happened a couple times.
Will we keep going?
Yeah, no, we can keep going because it only shows up who's talking. So oh no, he's back now. There he is.
Yeah.
You hear us, Mark?
Sure. Yeah, I can.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, I have watched that many games, and there are times where I would run from one end of the rink to the other and sit like this, lie like this on the bank, watching every bowl.
Yeah.
And I think I might have burnt myself out at some stage in my late teenage years.
Yeah. Yes. Well, when Ricky wasn't well, I took a year's leave from the bank, and we went to live up in New South Wales at Lake Cat-Eye, just short of Port Macquarie. And Mark came with us, and that's where he started his bowls, and he picked it up so very quickly. Yes, I know we played in this father and son in the district event, and I'd played 3 weeks solid, and I was worn out. And anyhow, I thought Mark played that well. He carried me across the line, and he gave me the name Suitcase after that. Yes, but yeah, no, he did show a lot of promise, and yeah, there's the trophy.
And I still have the trophy from it.
I've still got it.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Yeah.
1988.
We don't get too many trophies anymore. They've turned to cash prizes now for the most part. So
yeah, there wasn't much in the way of prize money, I don't think, for
No.
any of the time
Get a
you
trophy.
were at your peak, Dad.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah, in those days, there wasn't much about. When I went over to England to play in the G.O.A.T Masters, again, David Bryant beat me in the final, and I was purely amateur, and so I had to make the decision whether I'd take the $3,300, I think it was, converted from pounds. And so I decided I'd not made the Australian side in the past couple of years, in the previous couple of years. And so I took the money, and yes, the powers that be gave me a bit of a hard time when I got home. But anyhow, that was about the turning point where professionals were accepted like all the other sports. So, yeah, it was probably a good decision at the time, but that would still be the biggest prize money I won for being runner-up sort of thing. So,
yeah,
so there wasn't much money to be earned, and it cost a lot to get there. In fact, people sort of say to you, you know, how did you manage? I still don't know, but it was because I had the support of Ricky and the family. There was never any doubt that they would never stand in my way of playing for Australia. It was so dear to me, and they probably had to put up with a lot because of that. But because not only did it cost me money to travel everywhere, but and accommodation, because we got no help from the powers that be at all. But then I had to knock back employment improvement in the bank, and I lost a lot of superannuation over all that. So it did cost, but I wouldn't have had it any other way, and I feel my family feels the same.
Yeah. Do you mind if I just jump in there and ask about your family? Because I mean, having to travel so much, and like you just said, they would have had to endure quite a bit with it as well.
So, Mark, I might actually ask you, how did the family handle it? How did you handle it personally?
Look, I loved it in many ways. Now, I'm a late addition to the family.
Yeah.
My siblings are 11, 12 and a half, and 15 years older than I am. I'm the baby of the family, or the second family. So, you know, yes, I grew up on the circuit in a lot of ways. And, you know, a lot of the old hands are names that are, you know, so familiar to me. And in fact, I think I share a birthday with both Ian Schuback and Bobby King.
Okay.
Yeah, good company there.
Yeah, I reckon. Wow.
So, you know, that's, you know, they were household names for me.
Yeah.
So I can't speak for the other three. But yeah, I was, you know, kind of on the late side. You know, the World Bowls, I remember I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
Climbing up and around under the stands and making a general nuisance of myself, and still watching some bowls.
Yeah.
But you know, it got to the point for me where I left home, moved from Lake Cat-Eye, Port Macquarie back to Melbourne because I wanted to work in IT, and there was no such thing in Port Macquarie.
Yeah.
And I made the decision to play bowls, and I played for Dad's old club of Ivanhoe, which was a 40-minute drive from home.
Yeah.
And in those days, you know, that was a lot. I was 18, 19 years old. Most of the people playing were 40, 50, 60 years old. I had a few people say, why wasn't I out playing VFL at the time?
Yeah.
And it's like, have you seen this build? Not going to work. But, and, you know, in those days, my girlfriend would catch 2 trains to come and watch me play at Ivanhoe, which is dedication. And, you know, the fact that we've now been married nearly 27 years kind of adds to that.
Oh, credit to her.
But yeah, for that reason, I played for a season, maybe 2. I have no idea. I played pennant. I don't even know what division I played in.
Yeah.
But all of the travel and, you know, young single life, you know, young life with a girlfriend meant that I threw in the towel and didn't basically have anything to do with bowls other than a couple of Richmond Unions that I watched for the next 29 years.
Yeah, okay, wow.
And it was that event of 60 years celebrating Dad playing bowls when I got a phone call from Paul Dodd, who I'd never heard of. And he said, we're having this event. We want you to come along. And so, you know, we came along and I went, you know what? I could do this again. And so I took the game up after 29 years. And it's a very different game now than it was then.
It wasn't like riding a bike?
Oh, in some ways it was.
Yeah.
You know, as Dad said, I've got a delivery that's kind of just natural to me.
Yeah.
And that he's always been kind of impressed with, and that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, I played Division 6 and 5 and 4 and 3 and 2 and even a couple of games in the second Division 1 side for Lilydale.
Yep.
So we will see what the next few years have to bring. I mean, unfortunately, Dad, his partner for the club championships, Troy Stafford, broke his finger.
Yeah.
And so I stepped in and played the semi-final and the final, which we won. So I've managed to score my name up on the board at Lilydale, which is nice.
Beautiful.
Um,
I'm surprised you didn't mention that one, Snelly, as your greatest achievement. Having to carry Mark into a pairs final. Come on.
He played really well. He did,
did,
and I was in pretty good form at the time. So it was very good. Because you know, I don't know whether you knew, but I had when Troy pulled out, the favourite for me to ask was J-Boy.
Oh, okay.
So I had the choice of J-Boy and Mark, and I choose Mark. And
Wow.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Oh, didn't you?
No.
Yeah, well, when the very first night we were talking, when Troy did his finger, and I think Mick Rose might have been the first one that said to me, "Oh, now you'll be right because you can get J-Boy Morris to fill in for you because he didn't play in the pairs with anybody." So, yeah. And I said, "Oh, no, I have to think about that and play with my son," and that was great.
Yeah,
It was.
beautiful. That's a good tip of the cap to you, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely.
He overlooked probably one of the best in the state. Good on you, mate.
Yes, well, yes, there's nothing better than play family. I played a lot with, when I came to Melbourne, my uncle, he played 6 state games, won all 6 of them. He was in the police force and he couldn't get leave the next time they picked him, and they never picked him again after that. But they used to have these Sunday tournaments at different clubs, and they were very hard to get into. They were, but he, before I played with him, he won one of them, and so he always got an invite. He's a pretty colourful character, very big, strong, played centre half back for St Kilda, and he was very good. It was a great all-round sport, really. He played. I played 1 year under him as coach, 2 years. The years he was 40 and 41, and he won the best and fairest of the club both years, and he won the association best and fairest 1 year, and he was runner-up the following year in years when he was 40 and 41. So pretty fit man. And also he and Jack Dyer held the state police record for first wicket partnership in cricket, and there was top fast bowler he was himself. So and I boarded with him when I first went to work in the bank, and so he was always an inspiration to me, he was just such, he won 3 Maryborough gifts as well, so he was pretty talented sort of bloke. He would have been a great footballer in today. He was 6'2", 13 stone something, but fast he was. He would have been strong. Yeah. But yeah, those are the things that sort of come to mind when we talk about some of these things, because you know, when I think back to my aspiration was to be a Davis Cup tennis player, and I was ranked number 7 in junior in the state, and I went for coaching by the late great Harry Hopman, and he hit 2 balls up to me and called me up to the net, and he said, "Son, do you know your reflexes are abnormally slow?" And that really put the kibosh on me being a top tennis player, for sure that was. And it was also a handicap in golf because I had slow hands and I couldn't hit the ball any more than about 180 yards.
Yeah.
But I won 1 club championship of golf when I played off 7, and I had a good short game, but that's what comes through in the bowls, really. It did, because you like a short game to playing bowls. Yeah, touch stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it was good.
And I say, Dad sees angles.
Yeah.
You're looking at a head of bowls, and he'll go, if you hit half of that bowl, it'll take out that one, and you'll be left with 3. And it's like, and I don't know whether it was playing marbles as a kid or what, but even, even when I was playing tennis as a kid, like I'd hit a ball and Dad would leave it and it'd go out
Yeah.
by 1.5 inches because he just knew
He's got the
exactly
eye.
where that ball was going to land.
Yeah. He's
Um,
definitely got the eye.
don't-
Like he said, slow
don't play-
reflexes, but got the eyes.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Don't play snooker against him either.
Well, some fellas are naturals though, and I felt I always had to work at these things, and was prepared to put the time in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was lucky because a lot of the players in my time, their wives weren't too keen about them spending so much time at bowls. But Ricky was so good that I remember I had a bit of a guilty conscience about playing Sunday when I was at Geelong, and she went and put my name down. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Ricky, I think Mark mentioned to me earlier, next month is your 65th anniversary. Is that correct?
65.
65.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you guys, mate. And I'm sure everyone out there will say congrats as well. That's a hell of an achievement.
Yes, we've stuck it out pretty well, and
Yeah.
still do. Yeah, no, good. But she was a great supporter. In those early days, even with the 4 kids, she'd go to Pennant every Saturday, and whatever tournament she could get to. And it was sad that I couldn't get a worker to take her to Canada.
Yeah.
That would have been great, but stories that come to mind was one of the players, Errol Bungie from South Australia. His wife, she was going over, and but she wasn't allowed to travel with the players, and had to go over by herself, and she flew to what's the capital of Canada now?
Ontario? Is it Ontario? Toronto? Toronto.
What is it?
Toronto?
No,
No?
Anyhow,
Is it Ontario?
Hmm?
Ontario? No?
no.
No idea.
Oh dear me, just terrible. We'll have to look it up afterwards.
That's all right. Snelly, do you mind just waiting 2 seconds? We'll just pause and we'll start that back up again, if that's all right.
Okay.
I'm just going to quickly run and deal with something over there, if that's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
2 seconds.
Yep.
Ottawa.
What's that? What's that?
Ottawa. Is it Canada?
Ottawa either. It's on the east, on the west coast. No,
Dad, the capital is Ottawa.
no. Oh,
Well, it is.
is it?
Yeah. It's in Ontario, but it's, yeah, Ottawa is the actual capital. That's what Google says.
What's the place on the coast then? I'm sure that was capital then, but they might have changed to the east coast.
Oh, was it Ottawa?
Yeah, Ottawa's the capital.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of near the east.
What's the big place on the east coast, on the west coast? Sorry, can you see it there? They held the
Vancouver.
Vancouver.
Ah, yeah.
Vancouver. Anyhow, Jill flew into Vancouver, and what happened? Her luggage got left behind. because when she flew out of Sydney or wherever it was, she could still see looking out the window that it was on the trolley. And anyhow, she gets there and she's got all she's got, what she stands up. So, and the connecting flight to Edmonton, they missed the connecting flight, so they had to put her up at the hotel. And that night, somebody was murdered at the hotel, and they had to pull everybody out of their rooms, and yeah, and then she gets to Edmonton, and they come up with a case, and it's all split and clothes hanging out everywhere.
Oh, God.
I think she'd wish she stayed at home, yeah. But they weren't allowed in the village or anything like that. They were very strict and that sort of thing. And that was one of the disappointments that when we got there, when we got to the airport, they said that the number of people supposed to come was 17,000. That was players and officials. But 24,000 turned up.
Oh, wow.
It came about because, and even Australia was at fault. They kept saying, oh, you know, we haven't got enough money. We haven't got enough money to send the whole team. But they apparently they had $1.5 million in the bank all the time, but they're just after the extra money.
Yeah.
And apparently that happened in quite a few of the countries, and they had so many there. And when we got there, it was midnight or something like that, and I think they must have looked at us and said, oh, they're pretty sober old blokes, so we'll take them. We took us out to an old college, and anyhow, I walked along the corridor and said, Snell and Wilson in there. And anyhow, couldn't get the door open. We just get it ajar enough, and I was able to squeeze in. I was pretty skinny then. And there was a wardrobe against the door. And anyhow, we get in there, and there's 2 single beds, all right, and a wardrobe. And Jack's up, putting his clothes in the wardrobe there, and I felt the bed. The mattress was 1.5 inches thick. And so, you know, we weren't really impressed with the accommodation. But anyhow, on the morning of the opening ceremony, they moved us into the village, but we weren't with the rest of the Australian team. We were with them right up on the top floor with that was the University of Alberta. And there were other countries. I think the Scottish was the only bowls team up there, and all others were all sort of odds and sods. So we didn't get sort of hardly to meet any of our teams, which was a bit disappointing too.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame.
But anyhow, those are things. Once it started, it was all good. The Queen was coming out with a bowl from the first day.
Yep.
So nobody was allowed in the clubhouse. And would you believe that when come lunchtime, you had to walk 150 metres across a ploughed paddock, and they gave you well, you wouldn't remember them, the old 7-pound potato bag they were.
Okay.
And they gave you your lunch in that. So you sit down in the chair if you could find one. So that part of the games wasn't all that good. But
No.
when you get on the green and playing, you forget about those sort of things. But yeah, it was a bit strange. We thought that because the Queen was coming, that that was why we couldn't go in the clubhouse. But that stayed for the whole of the nearly fortnight, I think it was.
Yeah.
So we couldn't go in the clubhouse. Anyhow, yeah, that was.
We could run this video to however many hours you want, Zach.
Mate, if you're good to go, I'm here all night. That's fine. I've got another bottle of wine there somewhere. Yeah, I'm sweet. Nah, this is great. I love we've spoken a bit, Snelly, over the years, but not really in this much detail. So no, it's good to finally get the chance to really hear your story a bit.
Yeah, well, what do you want to do? Want to call it enough, or want to keep on going for a while?
No, are you all right to keep going, or?
Yeah, I'm right. Yeah, no worries at all. Yeah. Okay.
Good on you, mate, and happy Father's Day to the both of you. This is a Father's Day episode after all.
Thank you.
And good luck for the season in Packet Bayswater. Hope you do get into the ones next year.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, good luck up in Prem. Hope you stay up. I'm sure you will.
Have you got any new recruits, have you?
Other than myself, we've got a few back. Yeah, a few who used to be there have come back. So no, we should be pretty solid. Obviously, I don't know how the season's going to play out with COVID, but
no, nobody does.
no.
But yeah,
with any luck, we get back out in the green, and best of luck to all of us. So
yep,
good. Okay,
good on you guys. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks, Zach.
My pleasure. Okay, bye, pal.
See ya.
Unbelievable honour and privilege to have the Snellies on, John and Mark. Great chatting with you. I could have sat there for hours listening to John talk about his old stories. We had to end it somewhere, obviously. Happy Father's Day to everyone, all the fathers out there. We're not going to do any plugs this episode. We're going to plug our own. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, do it. Get around us. Like the pages. Everyone is already. It's been amazing. It was amazing having John on, and I think I'll leave it there. Cheers, guys.